Next on the news, bishops nationwide condemning President Biden's executive order to safeguard abortion rights. Also, several churches in one state targeted by vandals who even set one of them on fire. Plus this.
I hope we don't drop it, and I hope we go far.
The kids of Brooklyn getting in on the action to carry their own Giglio, and this man on a mission.
I drive around, and I probably put 5,000-6,000 miles in my car every year. That's okay. It's a good cause.
This guy is hoping to find a cure for cancer by burning some gas and selling plenty of candy bars. I'm Michelle Powers. Current News starts right now. For many, that's the sound of home, a neighborhood tradition weighing 4 tons and spanning generations.
Who's next? Step up.
And this is the taste of it. Italian delicacies standing the test of time, brought from the old country to the streets of Brooklyn. Williamsburg has changed a lot in the past 100 years, but one thing has stayed constant. Come July, St. Paulinus graces the skyline in the Giglio, calling those who moved away back to the city streets. The Feast of Our Lady of Mount Carmel attracts thousands, and it's all about tradition and some brute force, sometimes the biggest might coming from the smallest children. This year, Current News' Christine Persichetti caught up with the kids, not the capos, rolling up their sleeves.
All right, kids, you ready?
They've been preparing.
Well, I did do a couple push-ups with friends.
And they've been praying.
I hope we don't drop it, and I hope we go far.
Dozens of children in Brooklyn flexing their muscles.
It's gonna be really heavy.
Getting ready to lift the 400-pound children's Giglio at the Our Lady of Mount Carmel feast in Williamsburg.
I'm gonna be a capo, I'm gonna lead the Giglio.
So with the support of their families,
I am tickled pink tonight. I really and truly, it's the best thing.
a blessing from Monsignor Jamie,
Heavenly Father, we come together tonight to lift this children's Giglio.
and a scapular of Our Lady of Mount Carmel around their necks.
You're gonna wear this when you lift.
It was time. Like pros and like their fathers and grandfathers before them, the children made the Giglio dance as they processed through the feast. And when the work was done, the fun began with games,
Good job.
rides,
Going on the ride.
You like going on the rides? What about the food?
Yes.
and oh yes, the food.
Lucy hot, Lucy sweet.
Lucy says she has the best.
Because I'm around for close to 50 years. So if I'm around this long, you know it's got to be good.
And after 135 years, this parish perfected the recipe for a good time by bringing our faith onto the streets. In Williamsburg, Christine Persichetti, Current News.
Now, the mastermind behind the feast, the church's pastor, Monsignor Jamie Gigantiello, says they keep doing it every year because it's a way of reconnecting people to their faith.
And really what it does, it connects them to their loved ones who have died. That is so, they see their parents and grandparents walking down the street holding their hands. When you lift that Giglio, they remember, their loved ones who aren't here anymore, and they're right next to them. They lift that Giglio in their honor. I think people should come to the feast to experience the spirit of faith, to experience faith in a different way, bringing our faith into the streets, celebrating our traditions.
The Giglio, which pays tribute to St. Paulinus, the patron saint of Nola, Italy, is the highlight of the 12-day-long feast. And this year, it took nearly 150 men to lift that tower. So if you missed Sunday's lift, there's still time to take Monsignor Jamie's advice and join in on the fun. Parishioners will once again lift the Giglio on Wednesday, July 13th at 7 o'clock. And on Saturday, July 16th, Bishop Emeritus Nicholas DiMarzio will celebrate the Feast Day Mass at Our Lady of Mount Carmel at 2 o'clock. And finally, the festivities will all come to an end on Sunday, July 17th, with the Old Timers Day Giglio lift at 3. If you've never been out there, you just have to go. It's a Brooklyn tradition that cannot be missed. Now, just days after signing an executive order to protect abortions, President Biden is saying he's considering declaring a public health emergency to free up federal funds. The president says the money would be used to promote abortion access, even though the White House has said it doesn't seem like a great option. Catholic bishops across the country are speaking out against the president's push. The chair of the U.S. Bishops' Pro-Life Committee, Archbishop William Laurie of Baltimore, said this after Biden signed his executive order. Rather than using the power of the executive branch to increase support and care to mothers and babies, the president's executive order seeks only to facilitate the destruction of defenseless, voiceless human beings. The Catholic Church has often been criticized as being only pro-birth, but the bishops in New York are trying to change that. They launched a resources page that supports both mothers and babies. Just go to nyscatholic.org/help for moms, and you can find a pro-life center by you. There's also a statewide map that directs you to local Catholic parishes that have ministries available to serve all those mothers in need. Meanwhile, in this post-Roe America, the first over-the-counter birth control pill could soon be available at a local drugstore near you. HRA Pharma wants to sell its birth control without a prescription. If approved by the FDA, O-Pill would become the first daily hormonal birth control pill sold over-the-counter in the United States. Doctors across the country say they are seeing an increase in demand for different forms of contraception, including emergency contraception and longer-lasting birth control. The Catholic Church condemns the use of unnatural methods of birth control, but does approve of natural family planning when there is sufficient reason to avoid or postpone pregnancy. Parishioners at a Catholic church in Maryland were forced to attend Mass at a different location this weekend. That's because someone set fire to St. Francis Jane de Chantal Church and vandalized 2 other nearby churches. Nick Minogue has the details from Bethesda.
Well, people are coming in today shocked. There was some small attempt to burn some of the pews. Some books were shredded, and the Stations of the Cross were removed from the wall.
The arson triggered the fire detection system at St. Jane Francis de Chantal Catholic Church around 1:55 a.m. Sunday. And that's when Montgomery County firefighters arrived and put the fire out. This morning, the cleanup began.
Of course, they are concerned that they were allegedly targeted.
Although the investigation is ongoing, Montgomery County Fire and Rescue said there are similarities between the arson and vandalism at St. Jane Francis de Chantal Catholic Church and the arson and vandalism that happened just a few minutes down the road at North Bethesda United Methodist Church.
In both cases, there was some associated vandalism with that. So again, there are similarities, not too far apart, relatively same time of night occurring, and both being churches.
The arson happened at North Bethesda United Methodist Church on Saturday at 2:35 a.m.
Again, this was an arson, intentionally set fires.
And that's not all. A third church was vandalized on the same road. Investigators found headstones broken and wood pieces shattered at Wildwood Baptist Church.
We are a community of faith, and we're deeply committed to resilience and recovering. You know, this is a classic example of being tested by fire. And the St. Jane Parish community will rise and come through this in fine form.
Sunday Mass here ended with this prayer.
And encourage people to pray for whoever would do something like this, that their hearts be healed.
That was Nick Minogue reporting just hours after his church was set on fire. The pastor at that church reminded his congregation that the church is more than just a building, saying, "We are the body of Christ." Meanwhile, those weren't the only houses of worship under attack. The Church of Ascension in Overland Park, Kansas, is the latest vandalized over the weekend with a pro-abortion message. Photos of the incident show the words, "My body, my choice," written in red paint across the building. A vulgar statement was then also painted on the school's doors, and a statue of the Blessed Mother was drenched in red paint. Archbishop Joseph Naumann of Kansas City decried the vandalism, saying in part, "This attack and others targeting Catholic churches in Kansas and across the country are not only vulgar, but un-American." The Catholic Church remains firm in its support of mothers and preborn babies, and our members are more firmly dedicated to our mission than ever before. U.S. bishops have been keeping tabs on attacks on Catholic churches and organizations since 2020. And according to their records, there have been at least 15 instances of vandalism since Roe v. Wade was overturned on June 24th. 7 of those attacks saw church property vandalized and pro-abortion and anti-religious messages. And 2 are currently being investigated as suspected arson. It's the Pope's latest plea for peace and certainly not his first for Ukraine. The Holy Father again pleaded that God may show the way to put an end to this senseless war after Russia ordered a missile strike on a residential building. Francis says he is praying for all the victims, the wounded, those who are sick, the elderly, and children. Now for more on that missile strike in Kharkiv catching the Pope's attention. At least 6 people are dead and more than 30 injured. The attack, being called terrorism, came just 2 days after a Russian rocket attack struck apartment buildings in eastern Ukraine, killing at least 24 people. In the meantime, New York City has unveiled a new public service announcement, so we are ready for the worst in case of a nuclear attack.
Step 1, get inside fast. You, your friends, your family, get inside. And no, staying in the car is not an option.
The city's emergency management department says the likelihood of a nuclear weapon incident happening in or around New York City is very low, but the department says it's important New Yorkers know the steps to stay safe, like get inside, stay inside, and stay tuned so you have the latest information. Now to some good news. We would like to say congratulations to our colleagues over at the Tablet newspaper and Nostra Voce. They won a combined 46 awards at this year's Catholic Media Conference for excellence in journalism. Let's take a look at a few of the highlights. Nostra Voce won Best Spanish-Speaking Paper of the Year, and the Tablet took home 2nd place for Best Weekly Newspaper, sweeping the categories for Best Investigative News Writing and Best Coverage on Political Issues. Congratulations, you guys. If you're interested in reading those stories, then just head online to thetablet.org. All of our stories are archived on our website. There you can find a complete list of the Tablet and Nostra Voce award-winning stories and more. Again, that's online at thetablet.org. There's a lot more news headed your way. Prayers in Yosemite as first responders battle some fast-moving wildfires. Also, what information applicants in New York are going to have to share if they want to get their concealed carry permits. And they were unlike anything since 1959. Coming up, what Cuba is like now, a year after historic protests on the island nation. A devastating wildfire in California is threatening a national treasure, the giant sequoias. The fire has entered a grove filled with hundreds of the ancient trees, but firefighters are taking steps to protect them. It will be a great challenge, though. As Chris Wynn reports, the situation comes as a heat wave grips the country.
As a massive wildfire threatens Yosemite National Park, fire crews are taking protective measures in a race against the clock.
It's really a collaborative effort, and we know that with wildfires throughout the state right now, we can't do this alone.
The Washburn fire doubled in size over the weekend to more than 2,300 acres and injured the park's famed Mariposa Grove, home to more than 500 giant sequoias. While they've avoided major damage so far, fire crews have installed a sprinkler system to dampen the ground around the park's legendary 209-foot-tall grizzly giant sequoia.
Fire managers and scientists are taking a look at the conditions of the trees and what do we need to prescribe, what conditions are in place.
Residents and visitors now dealing with unhealthy air quality throughout the Yosemite Valley. Officials say the smoke could also impact people as far away as the San Francisco Bay Area, roughly 200 miles to the west.
The retardant is not as effective simply because of the terrain. And so with that, we're really relying more on water and the helicopter drops.
Meanwhile, a potentially dangerous situation in Texas, with excessive heat and high humidity gripping the state, where temps could reach as high as 112 degrees. The grid operator urging residents to conserve electricity as the heat wave drives up demand. Chris Wynn, Currents News.
As that fire rages on in California, the Diocese of Fresno is keeping all those affected in their prayers, saying this: "We pray for the protection of the firefighters who are working tirelessly to preserve the historic Yosemite National Park and the community around the wildfire. We also pray for community members that are affected by the fire, as well as Valley residents who endure poor air quality during the fire season." New Yorkers looking to carry concealed weapons will have to hand over their social media accounts for review. It's part of the new bills recently signed by Governor Kathy Hochul to strengthen the state's gun laws. Those seeking gun permits will have to disclose both active and inactive social media accounts. They'll be used for review of the applicant's character and conduct. The new requirement will take effect in September. This comes amid yet another violent weekend in the city. 5 people were hurt in a shooting in Coney Island around midnight on Sunday. Police say the shots rang out on the boardwalk near West 21st Street. After that, around 8 o'clock in the morning Sunday, detectives say a man was fatally shot in his home in Canarsie. And there were 2 other shootings in the Bronx also on Sunday. And if crime weren't enough, a rise in COVID cases has prompted New York City health officials to once again call for masks indoors and in crowded public areas. New data shows there's been a daily average of more than 3,000 new cases across the city over the last week. So the health department recommended that New Yorkers wear a mask in all public indoor settings and around crowds outside. And some more New York City news. The Department of Education will finally be keeping one of their promises. Starting next school year, the department is setting up a first-of-its-kind office that will support students in foster care. Advocates say that this kind of specialized attention could keep these students in school, since less than 50% graduate on time. That number fell even lower post-pandemic. 1 year ago today, historic protests rocked Cuba. Thousands spontaneously took to the streets. Nothing like it had taken place since the days of Fidel Castro and the Communist Revolution in 1959. Since then, a government crackdown. Hundreds of people have been sent to prison for going out and demanding better living conditions on the island. As Patrick Ottman reports, many are concerned that new revolts could come any day now.
When the largest anti-government protests here since the Cuban Revolution took place last July, thousands of people poured into the street. Demonstrators demanded food, medicine, and political changes in spontaneous marches across the island. Protests even took place in smaller cities like San Jose de las Lajas, where brothers Nadir and Jorge Perdomo, both teachers, addressed this crowd of people that residents say remain peaceful.
Mis hijos salieron porque, como todo cubano.
My sons went out because, like every Cuban, they were desperate over the situation. The 2 men's mother told us they are fathers. Every day here, we have less. The government crackdown was swift and harsh. As police arrested hundreds of protesters, Nadir and Jorge made a last video where they said they were merely expressing the discontent that many Cubans feel. Days later, the 2 brothers were arrested. According to court records, neither man had a prior criminal record, and both were well regarded in their community. All the same, Jorge was sentenced to 8 years in prison and Nadir to 6 years after being convicted of charges including disorderly behavior and insulting public officials. Human rights groups say the Cuban government is trying to intimidate their own people from taking to the streets again.
And we found that constantly prosecutors were charging Cubans for exercising their basic rights, such as the right to protest peacefully, the right to insult the president or to insult police officers exercising their freedom of expression.
It remains to be seen, though, whether the mass trials will succeed in silencing dissent. So far, the government here says nearly 500 people have been convicted and sentenced for their roles in the protests, with some demonstrators receiving up to 25 years after being convicted of sedition. Officials say the protests were not the result of worsening living conditions on the island, but a campaign of sabotage carried out by Cuba's Cold War enemy, the United States government. But Marta Perdomo says no one had to encourage her sons to protest.
No, para nada. Mis hijos no fueron pagados.
My sons weren't paid. They didn't have to go out, but they felt the pain of Cuba, she says.
Pero ese día mis hijos fueron libres.
My sons were free that day.
That was Patrick Ottman reporting. During last year's protest, Cuban-American bishops, including Auxiliary Bishop Emeritus Octavio Cisneros, voiced their support for the people of Cuba, saying in part, "We Cuban-American bishops join in solidarity with the Cuban people in their quest for responses to their human rights and needs. We are deeply troubled by the aggressive reaction of the government to the peaceful manifestations, recognizing that violence engenders violence." Still to come on Currents News, they've nicknamed him the Candy Man because he sells hundreds of chocolate bars, but not for a profit. How his knack for fundraising is helping to save lives. Plus 3 teens and 1 huge fire. How kids managed to save a family before firefighters arrived. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number, 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. Three California teens are now being hailed as heroes after they risked their lives running into a burning home to save their neighbors. Over the weekend, Jesus Madrigal, together with his friends Juan and Pedro, noticed smoke billowing from a nearby house. At first, they tried banging on the door to see if anyone was awake, and when that wasn't enough, they knocked down the doors to make their way inside and started rushing people out.
The right thing to do, you know, like it's like basically put it in your shoes. Like if your house is burning, would you like someone to help you or not? Like that, you know, like I would appreciate if someone came and helped me if my house is burning down.
And in another show of bravery and kindness, the 3 teens actually took the shirts off their own backs to give them to the children they rescued. And finally tonight, he's a 77-year-old, but he's a fundraising machine. They call him the Candy Man, and he has a cause, selling chocolate bars, hundreds of them, hoping that one day those dollars will help cure cancer. Rachel Holt has the story from Lakeville, Massachusetts.
His name is Fred Reagan, but...
Well, the nickname is the Candy Man.
It's easy to see why.
How much candy do you have in your house right now?
Probably about 1,600 boxes.
The 77-year-old Lakeville man is preparing for his 17th Boston Marathon Jimmy Fund Walk in October.
I started doing it with a good friend of mine. He lost his daughter-in-law, 30 years of age, with cancer.
His goal this year is to raise $20,000 for Dana-Farber Cancer Institute.
He's really what we want all of our supporters to be like, just that passion, that energy. Fred himself, through the end of last year, has raised just shy of $107,000.
He does this by way of mail.
We'll send out about 260 letters this year. And I had a stamp made up at Staples that says, AKA the Candy Man.
And by selling Hilliard's chocolates.
So this is our chocolate bars for fundraising program. There's 40 chocolate bars in there. They're $1 each, and then they can resell them for $2 or whatever they choose to.
Now in year 12 of using the program, Fred says he's close to selling his 100,000th candy bar.
It's very close. I think by the end of October, November, I would have hit 100,000 candy bars.
He's great. He is amazing. He's such a joy to have around. Every time he's around, I'm always smiling. I'm always laughing.
I drive around, and I probably put 5,000 to 6,000 miles in my car every year, but that's okay. It's a good cause. And one of these days, we're going to have a cure for cancer.
That was Rachel Holt reporting. Reagan's own father had leukemia, and he lost his sister to cancer as well. He says all these years later, he does this in their memory. And that is Currents News. I'm Michelle Powers. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.